Welcome to the Humble Togs podcast. Thank you for joining us. This episode is not about polished success, it's about mistakes. What actually moves you forward? Most photographers get stuck trying to avoid failure. Most humans actually get stuck trying to avoid failure. We're all scared of failure. I have said this before in the podcast, I believe, and I'll say it over and over again. One of my main ideas about failure, and you may have thought of it before, but stick with me, is that failure is the necessary step to move forward and learn a thing. A lot of people fear failure, and if they fail at something or they feel like they've failed at something, then they should give up. I want to reframe that for you and help you understand that if you are not failing in a creative pursuit, you actually aren't doing it. You're not trying hard enough. In order to learn a thing, you have to fail. That is the necessary element of getting better at something. If you're out there and you've got that feeling of, oh, I'm not good enough yet, I need to get more gear, I need to be more professional, I need to get to some level, some unattainable thing that you think you have to get to before you can start being a photographer, I'm here to tell you that's utter bollocks. Just start, work through the mistakes that you will make, and you will get better, my friend. On this episode, we're going to talk to Erin Brooks, who is a member of Humble Togs Club. She's actually been shooting for as long as I have, for 20 years or so, mainly in the B2B space of working with businesses and business owners, helping them brand their businesses as a branding photographer. She messes up. There's a great bunch of stories where we'll talk about how we both mess up in even after our 20 years of doing photography. I hope you get a bit of inspiration and a helpful reframe for you of that idea that you have to achieve greatness in order to be professional at something. If you just start and you just keep going and you work through the problems and the mistakes you will make, expect that you'll make those mistakes every day. Get up, go to work, go and make those mistakes, and you will be succeeding by making those mistakes. We also talked to Erin about how the connections are made. A lot of the times, a random connection that you make on a certain day will open up a doorway to hundreds or even thousands or tens of thousands of dollars just from one connection. So as much as we talk about marketing and all the things you can do online for marketing, that's actually the harder route. If you are starting out in business, trying to figure out how to grow your business, start with the people you know. Who do you know that has a restaurant? Who do you know that has a family if you're wanting to do family photography? Everyone, right? There are people all around you that will help you grow your business, especially at the start. So start there. Start with the people you know, and as you get started, you might do a photo shoot for someone and then they work for Microsoft, and all of a sudden you're doing events for Microsoft. That is how this business goes. That's how any business goes. If you're putting yourself out there and you're out there doing it, just get out there and do it. Also, just before we started the podcast recording, Erin was talking to me about her ADHD diagnosis, which only just came in the other day. So I'll get Erin to explain that again. If you're someone who's neurospicy, if you have ADHD or any other neurospiciness, that doesn't mean you're broken. It just means if you figure out how your brain works, you might be able to take advantage of either medication or knowing what you need to do to build your business, to be able to focus. And again, it's okay if you mess up on the way. Here's Erin. So, hi, Erin. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm great.
We were just chatting prior to pressing record here about ADHD. And I just said, oh, quick, this is good stuff. Let's start recording and get into it. So go back again. Tell us about where you are with that diagnosis and what's going on.
Yeah, so I got diagnosed about a month ago. And I started my meds yesterday. So I have mild inattentive ADHD. So get very easily distracted, difficult to finish tasks, get like 95% of the way through a task and just cannot do the final 5%. One of the things that I was asked in my diagnosis was like, how do you go with your business accounts? And I'm like, terrible. And they're like, okay. So
don't we all though?
I know, but yeah, but it's this thing where things that are easy for people I've always struggled with and not realized that actually I shouldn't be struggling. It's actually just how my brain works. So yes. Yeah.
And then you said you started medication and felt an immediate change?
Yes, my brain just a lot quieter. I sat down to edit a gallery yesterday morning that I have been putting off for 2 weeks. Needed to get it done, got it done, looked at the clock and I was like, it must be lunchtime. It was 10:30 in the morning. So Yeah, and I didn't pick up my phone once and get distracted by it or anything like that. I could just sit down and get the work done. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And you
Yeah.
were talking about Instagram as well. You've gotten rid of that off your phone.
It's off my phone, so it's just on desktop, and I'm checking it like once or twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening for work purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Try not to go down the rabbit holes too much.
Yeah, totally. And that's such an easy thing to do. I've managed to now, with my Instagram and everything on my phone, basically, it's all for work stuff. And even with the algorithm, I don't click and look at things that aren't related to photography, business, and things like that. So I can go there when I want to go there, but my time, I feel like, when I'm looking around things and commenting on things, is all useful in building my business. And I just don't click on or scroll or doom scroll, and just waste time on it, because I think it's such a time suck.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I do get a lot of work through Instagram, funnily enough. Like,
Yeah.
I know when I haven't posted on Instagram for a while, my inquiries have slowed down. And I know that once I start posting regularly again, the inquiries will come through. But at the same time, my aim this year with the business is to do less jobs, but bigger jobs. So far, that is working. And they're not coming from Instagram. They're coming from existing clients. So it's working
Tell
well
us about
so far.
that gig you were telling me about the other day.
The 4-dayer, yeah.
Yeah, what's that all about?
It's massive. So one of my clients is a major shopping centre. I think they're like the biggest shopping centre in Australia or something. I don't know, whatever it is. They're huge.
But
anyway.
not like a Westfield, or what is?
No, it's Erin down on the Central Coast.
Gotcha. Yeah. They just own that one shopping centre, so you can talk to centre management and the marketing team just about that one brand. Things like Westfield and some of those other franchise ones are hard to do that.
So they recently got bought by a new owner who owns a whole bunch of other shopping centres as well. So it is probably going to end up being like a Westfield, but I've been working for them for like, I want to say nearly 4 years. It's either 3 or 4 years. Anyway, it's ages. And so I do all of their event photography. They do a lot of community programs. They sponsor the local, I want to say football, soccer team on the coast. They've got a lot going on there. But what I'm doing this year for Mother's Day, normally they will put on an event for Mother's Day. Last year it was cake decorating. I think the year before was like flower arranging or something like that, where people pay a small price and they come in and they do the activity. They run it for a couple of days straight and it just gets people into the centre. And I photograph all of that. So they will use it for what they call pre-promote, which is to promote the event. And then they'll use it as a follow-up to say, hey, these are all the people that came. What I'm doing this year for Mother's Day is mini shoots, essentially. So we're going to set up in centre for 4 days and I will capture 5 photos per group of up to 6 people, we've said. So, small family groups for Mother's Day. So there'll be flowers or some sort of backdrop set up. And I am going to do, I think, 120 sittings over 4 days. So 5 photos per sitting.
Is the deliverable printed?
No, digital, all just digital. So they get one digital included of their choice. Pretty much on the spot. I think what I'm going to do is probably deliver them at night or, at the end of the 4 days or something like that. But they will get one photo included and there's an option to upgrade to the full gallery, which I will get paid directly for. So the thing about Erin is they're really good at fundraising and that sort of thing, like community-based stuff. So actually the people will be paying to get their one picture and
As
that
they
money.
Walk past, like it's like a
they'll book in. So this will go out to anyone who's on the Erin like mailing list, on their socials, whatever, and they'll have the opportunity to book a slot. They get the one included for their entry fee, but that entry fee, the whole lot of that is going to a charity. So So it'll be hopefully really successful. They expect it will sell out. Yeah, it's been a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Organising.
I've actually done a fair bit of that. It's funny to talk about, but it was Santa photography.
Yes, yeah.
My very first job in photography was going and working for a company that did essentially what you're talking about, in a shopping centre with a setup, with Santa there, and we did prints back in those days. And I think they still do prints these days. But,
yeah, they do. Yeah.
But that was just kind of walk-ups too. So that was like hundreds of people a day.
Chaos.
Insanity. It was all like print and off you go, and then it was done. You said 120 total?
120, yeah. I think that there is a little bit of wiggle room in there to squeeze some in because you inevitably get people who walk up, go, what's this? And usually with stuff like that, we say, come back at the end of the day and if there's a spot, or something like that, or arrange it.
How long are you got per person? Per sitting?
Like 5 minutes or something like that.
Okay. 5 minutes is fine.
It's 4 days. It's like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The first day is only in the afternoon, and then it's like a split shift on the Friday and then a shorter shift on the Saturday and Sunday. Because obviously we've got to work within the constraints of the shopping centre hours, which vary and all of that.
Totally. I would have thought 120 sounds like not many for that amount of time.
I think, yeah, they've been quite sort of like built in a bit of break time and that sort of thing for me. And also they've not done this before. I've actually never done mini shoots before. So this is like a big undertaking for me as well.
Great. Yeah.
But you inevitably have people turn up late. So you've got to build in a little bit of a buffer and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll see.
There's lots of idea stuff I could help you with. One of the first things I would try to help you with is deliverable immediately, because 120, like, you could sit up at night and do it, but it's in your best interest if you can figure out the system to be just, they put in their email and the email gets sent out to them automatically. That's relatively easy to do, and it's just going to save you so much time after a long day of shooting.
Yeah,
to
for
then
sure.
Be sitting there and whatever. That's the first thing. If I can just help you solve that problem.
Would love that. That'd be amazing.
Great. How long do we have? When's this thing? Mother's Day is May.
May. Yeah. So it's the week before Mother's Day. So it's in a few weeks. Yeah.
Right.
In about a month.
Let's get some time on the calendar to talk through that and help you figure out the tech to do it. That's the missing link there, and then that will just make your whole event a much smoother.
Yes, yeah, that'd be great.
And then you get the database, right? The people that have all done that, you'll have your email. That's a hugely valuable thing for you. And then you said the potential upgrades if they wanted the whole gallery, etc. Yeah. What are you going to offer for that?
Yeah, I think I'm just going to offer like full gallery because full gallery is only going to be 5 images or something like that. I think I maybe said 120 or something like that.
Yeah,
like,
I'd do it $100, 120.
Yeah, 100, 120, something like that, because it's that thing, it's that fine line of I don't want to create too much extra work for myself, but I need to be, because I am getting paid, obviously, to be there for the 4 days as well. Great. So I've built in that amount. So if I don't sell any upgrades, totally fine. Like, I'm okay with what I've been paid for those 4 days.
Okay. Be aware with that kind of stuff, you're probably going to learn a whole bunch of stuff doing it and then go, okay, next time I'll do this a bit different or whatever. But just be aware with that kind of money, with corporate money, we'll call it, it's not uncommon for, like, at Santa, for instance, this is back in, would have been like late 90s, early 2000s. We would make 50, 60 grand profit for a couple of weeks. So there's possibility to make huge amounts of money for a single person, that when we're looking at budgets and like, oh, what can I charge people and whatever, it's often, I think, we get in our own way and go, oh, well, $2 grand for the day is fine or whatever. If you do things right, you can, like the guy who used to actually run the Santa photography, like he used to put all his effort into Santa photography and that would last him like 3 months of income.
Yeah,
because he'd have all the setup and all the staff and all that stuff set up and then punch it out in a couple of weeks before Christmas, and just the volume and the pricing structure and everything that he had set up was a serious amount of money.
Yeah. And like, I am semi sort of aware of that, having worked with the centre for so long. But yeah, it's all very new to me. It's been a lot, but I've worked it out.
How did you actually make that connection with the people from the shopping centre originally?
Oh my God, this is a story.
Great, let's go.
So, okay, I have been doing photography for like 20 years, right? On the side, whatever. I had a child 7 years ago. COVID hit when she was 1. And then at the end of COVID, friends of mine who also live on the Central Coast started running these beautiful retreats, meditation, breathwork kind of retreats. So I went and photographed a couple of those. Then, do you know the website in Newcastle, Hunter Hunter, where they put, new restaurants, new events, new businesses, things that are happening?
Right.
Anyway,
yeah.
You will now. You look them up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the friends of mine that I had done the photo shoot for their business, which was the retreats, they then went on to Hunter Hunter and got an article done, because they do like an article and they use photos if you've got them, or they will send a photographer. They used my photos on that. And then Hunter Hunter kind of acted as like a bit of a scout for the shopping centre that I now work for, saying, like the shopping centre have said to Hunter, we need a photographer. Can you recommend anyone on the Central Coast? Can you send us one of your people? And they're like, we don't have anyone on the Central Coast, but this girl photographed this shoot on the Central Coast that we know about. Maybe she'll do it. And so Hunter contacted me and said, will you do this shoot for this shopping centre? It was 5 days of work. And at the time, my child was like 2 or something like that. No, she might have been 3. And I was like, okay, I will take on this seemingly massive, like for me, this is huge because I've been doing photography for a really long time, but always on the side and always little things. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. I did 5 days with them and they said, we want you just directly. We just want to work with you. And I'm like, perfect. And I've been there ever since. So I think I've said no to 1 shoot in 4 years or something like that with them. And it was just because I was already fully booked that day. They are a great client, but I don't know of any other client that there would be that's like that, if that makes sense. I have a handful of clients like that who, I got through one gig and it may have been a really random like referral or someone mentioned, oh, you should look up this person. And then that connection, that one little conversation where someone thought of me and whatever has gotten me thousands and thousands of dollars, maybe tens of thousands of dollars over the period of time of my career, just from little connections like that. So that's always a great piece of advice I'd give to anyone too, is a lot of people think, oh, how do I market? How do I get out there to people, on social media or whatever? And that it's part of business and it's a good thing to do, but it's the hardest way to market. The best marketing you have is starting with your community. Who do you know? Yes.
Who's so-and-so that works at so-and-so that, can pass your name around, like all of that stuff. I mean, essentially it's called word of mouth, but I would go one step further and say not even word of mouth, like active, reach out to people in your community. Who do you know that works at a restaurant? Who do you know that works at this kind of business? Like figure out connections that way, and that's the best way to build business at the start for sure.
Yeah, and what's been good about something like this as well is because the shopping centre works with other local businesses and stuff, I have ended up with, I think, 6 other clients who I have met through working there.
Every one of these mums who comes and does this family shoot, right?
Yeah,
for charity, you better be marketing to them with like, family shoots,
Do you know, I don't actually really like doing family shoots, so.
Okay. Tell us about your photography business,
yes,
how it started and where you're going these days.
Okay, so I am predominantly a branding photographer. So lots of small businesses, social media focused, I guess, in terms of what they use their content for. And I do a little bit of B-roll video as well. So handheld, don't even have a gimbal, anything like that. It's just essentially, I say that it's like a moving still, the video that I offer. I have a lot of like beauty therapy / skin therapist kind of clients. I've got a hair salon client, gym, yoga. The job that I used to work at full time was gym, yoga, physio, massage, and Pilates. And there was also a naturopath on board. A lot of the physios I used to work with now have their own physio practices, so I do their photography. I'm sort of in, I guess you would say, mostly health, wellness, beauty, kind of. But having said that, I do have some other randoms.
Have you always been calling yourself a branding photographer?
Pretty much, yeah. Not when I very first started, because I was kind of doing a little bit of everything, but I kind of fell into it because like I've built websites, I've done a bit of graphic design. My old job, I used to do all the photography. I used to run the social media account, all that sort of stuff. So because of my background, I guess, that's where the branding just felt natural to me. Yeah. And also, like, people are so amazed when they go, oh, you're a photographer, you shoot weddings? I go, no. Like, I've done a couple of weddings, but they've been for my business clients who have been getting married. I don't like to give up my weekends because my child's at school. I like to spend my weekends with her. I will occasionally do a weekend shoot, and that's okay, but I'm not going to give up my nights and things like that. And also the pressure of a wedding shoot doesn't appeal to me.
Sure.
It's too much. So yeah, that's where branding is good. It's 9 to 5 mostly. It's pretty straightforward. I've got a bit of a formula that I can run through and get all the images they need, and I can think about, okay, how are they going to use these things and know what to shoot for them, basically.
Yeah, that's great. To be honest, in my photography career and journey, I haven't really heard the term branding photographer until the last few years. I feel like a lot of people are going towards that niche now. With social media and everything that's needed. But you're ahead of the curve. You were doing it
Yeah, I
15 years
started a
ago.
while ago. And my old job, I did a lot of it. So it kind of made sense to.
Yeah. Now, I don't want to embarrass you, but
No.
my friend was it Sarah, who I'm here with at her physio, said to me the other day, you went to America with that Erin? And I'm like,
Yeah.
what? Tell us how we met and remind me.
Oh my God. What year was, I don't even know what year it was. I was in
1996.
96. So I was
Yeah.
in year 8, I think.
96 or 97, yeah.
Yeah.
At Belmont High?
Dancing. I was a dancer. I was in the dance ensemble, all the things you were singing.
How much older was I than you? 2 years?
I think so.
I was in I'll be year 11 and you were in year 8.
Yeah. So 3 years then. Yeah.
Right, okay. From high school days, like a high school trip.
Yeah.
And there would have been like, what, 40, 30 families or something?
There were heaps of us, weren't there? Yeah, I'm not sure how many there were, but it was a performing arts tour where where did we perform? Like Disney World, Universal Studios.
I have very specific memories of that trip.
Is it just the pizza party on the last night? That's the only thing I remember, really.
Right? Isn't it funny the things you remember when you're that age?
In Florida, yeah.
I remember going to, I think we were in like Kennedy Center in Washington. We were there at like 12 o'clock on a weekday when there's nothing on, just to explore their thing. And Mum was like, get up on the stage and do a performance for us so then you can say you've performed at the Kennedy Center in Washington.
That was wild.
So
My
crazy.
God. So crazy. Yeah, no, it was, I don't really remember. Do you know what happened though? When we got home, I got sick. I had glandular fever. I was like
wow.
on the couch for like a month. I couldn't move after that trip. It was
From the
crazy.
travel?
Yeah, I think so. I think it went around. I think a lot of people got glandular fever after that trip because it was like 3 weeks of us on buses and sharing hotel rooms and
Didn't we get billeted too? We stayed
in
with people
Tennessee. Yeah.
I can't really remember.
Our my family had a potbelly pig in the backyard. I was like, what is this? It was the biggest
like every
culture
family in
shock.
Tennessee.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry to all the Tennessee listeners out there.
I was like, this is crazy, but yeah, it was just normal.
I remember we went to a church in Harlem, like a real black African American church with the gospel singing and all that. And it's so funny because I now live in Harlem, but I couldn't even tell you where we were. I think we went past the Apollo Theatre, which is on 125th Street, and, as 16, 17-year-old kids. But yeah, it's funny to think back that far. And then it's funny because then I kind of essentially met you properly. You joined the club a while ago, and then we did a shoot here in Newcastle, and you came along and you did some photos of me, which are absolutely spectacular. I've used them on the group and stuff there. And then I did some photos of you in the midst of trying to create content to create the posing app, which I hope by now by the time you're listening to this podcast, maybe I've actually gotten that done. But that's a huge kind of thing on my plate that I'm trying to figure out how to do. But I took some photos of you and I said to you, I hope that I could do those justice enough, because the ones you took of me from behind the scenes of helping me brand Humble Togs Club is clearly your cup of tea and your expertise. So you created some beautiful photos there that I loved and have used lots already. Tell us about the process of how it felt to be in front of the camera.
Terrifying. Terrifying. I really do not like having my picture taken, which is hilarious because I'm always trying to make other people comfortable. But yeah, it's not something I've ever been super comfortable with, I don't think. So yeah, the direction you gave me was certainly really good. And like seeing the photos, I'm stoked with them because like I said to you, I'm like, I should like these photos of myself, whereas normally I don't.
So glad. We didn't put a lot of effort into those, and that's what I was a bit like.
It was quick. It was it was hot. We were sweaty. Like it was like a whole thing. But yeah, no, they're great. I found the direction really, really helpful. And some of the things that I learned from you on the day, just observing, I have definitely used since.
Great.
So that's been really helpful.
What are some of those things?
Chin forward.
Do you say chin forward or do you say...
Forward,
forward,
chin down,
forward,
forward, that sort of thing. Yes. And I've been pulling out my reflector more often as well, which is, which is good. I've had a pretty quiet start to the year, which has been really nice. But yeah, I did a big shoot for a real estate agent who randomly they're like 2 hours away, and I just do that for them once a year and just do like a full day. And yeah, I used a lot of it for them, which was really helpful.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, again, I will hopefully have that posing app out at some point when it is built.
Yes.
Honestly, the podcast right now is a real joy. I'm really enjoying speaking to the members in the club. You know, everyone has a real interesting story, and I think that's what is great about the community in general and communities in general, is that you just scratch the surface with anyone and everyone's got a great story and a different tact at approaching how they do photography. And that's been great to chat about here. I'll throw a couple of quick ones at you before we wrap up. What's the craziest situation you've gotten into in your career so far?
Oh, God. I don't know. Like crazy as in I really shouldn't have done that job, or like
anything?
Most stressful, which was where I put stress on myself, was a wedding for a very good friend. And it was amazing. The wedding was amazing, all the things, but I stressed myself so much I got shingles. So
good.
That's a word of warning.
Shingles and what was the other thing from America?
Glandular fever.
Shingles, good.
Yeah, but the shingles, that was like pretty close to before the wedding, and the doctor was like, "Oh dear, are you stressed out?" And I'm like, And it was just all pressure I put on myself. It did not come from the client. It was all up here. It's probably an ADHD thing, to be honest. So now we know.
Have some level of putting a lot of pressure on ourselves, especially for weddings. You know, you really want to not stuff that up.
Yeah, you can't reshoot a wedding.
Yeah. I'll tell a story here. I'm not sure if I'll include this or not, but I'll tell you a story and I might include it. The worst experience I've had of my life was in New York. I just moved to New York. It was a friend of mine who asked me to shoot their wedding. You know, I was just kind of like helping a friend, charging them $2,000. Went to the wedding. It was amazing, everything. And came back. And the next day I had a studio that I worked at down in Soho and we live up in Harlem. And in the morning, I had my dog with me and I had a camera bag and a lighting bag and a light stand and a bunch of stuff, too much stuff. And in New York City, you always just catch the train. You don't, like in Australia, I would put all that stuff in my car, go to the studio, and I wasn't really that used to the train system yet. So I, got on the train and off I went downtown. I was just going to go download the photos and do everything and have my dog. And then at 34th Street, the doors open. And then the next stop, which is an express stop on the A, is 14th Street. But on a D train, it skips 14th Street and goes to West 4th Street. So as the doors are kind of closing at 34th Street, the person goes, the next stop is West 4th Street. And I knew I had to get off at 14th. And I was like, shit. And I grabbed all my stuff and jumped off the train. And I went up and I returned the lighting gear, turned around, had my dog, and realized that the backpack that I had as well was not with me. I was like, oh shit.
Oh God.
And then the moment hit me of the memory cards are in that backpack. And I was going down to download them. Sidebar, I just want to say at this point, when I was in Australia, I had so many systems for making sure you would never, ever be at risk or put your memory cards in risk, certainly from a wedding or any other case. There's a bunch of different systems I had to make sure that we were backed up and, traveling and whatever, and always had your memory cards on your person and all these other things. For whatever reason, some freaking dumb reason, I just hadn't put that much care that I needed to have done on that day. So I, number one, fell apart in the street, was like, how have I done this? I was screaming. I was holding my dog and he was getting so scared and stuff because I was just like,
oh my God,
what is happening? And I was like, how do I even solve this? How do I even start to solve this? I jumped in a cab that came past and I was like, just drive to, down West 4th, because at this point I'd gotten out and that train would have gone to West 4th. I think it'd be in Brooklyn by now and there's no way a cab could catch up to it. So I went a certain way and I was like, oh, no, screw it. I'll jump out. And I jumped out at West 4th and went into the station and was like just running around almost screaming at people. Does anyone see a backpack? Did anyone hand in a backpack off the train? And anyway, this went on for weeks. One of the first things I had to do at that point was decide to tell the bride because I needed to put it up on social media straight away. And put the word out to see if we could get the backpack back. I couldn't have done that without telling the bride, right? So that was a real first thing to deal with. She is amazing, is still my friend.
That's amazing.
I cannot even begin to repent, repay, like anything. I can never, ever get what I took from her away. I can't give that back. But all I could do is try to get that thing back. And every day I went and plastered posters on the inside of that train that's running up and down the D line. Every train that pulled up at 145th Street, I jumped in as the carriages, and a friend of mine helped me at the time, and we would go and plaster the whole train so that train would go downtown, and then we'd get the next train, and every train on that line had these plastered things up, and it said $2,000 reward for these photos, because I was like, I'm going to give the person the money back, obviously, and I'll pay another $2,000 to someone who can get this backpack back, because it just looks like a backpack to anyone. There was like, my headphones in it and not much else, but it's just stupidly.
So was your camera in it, or was it just your memory cards?
No, just the memory cards.
Oh, God.
Just the stupidest mistake I ever made was not have them on my person. When you are leaving a wedding, when you are leaving a gig, when you're leaving anything, stuff can get lost. A assistant of mine left all our lighting bag in a cab once, and the cab went away and we never got that back either. Stuff goes missing. When you are a wedding photographer, keep the photos, because they only exist once until they get backed up, right? Keep them on yourself. These days, a lot of the cameras have dual slots. That's another way. If you have dual slots, and then you get your assistant to keep a set of the files with them until they get downloaded. That's another good way these days, but this is back in before the dual slots was around. But in any case, that is a cautionary tale for anyone. I do own that. Happy to talk about it with photographers. I just am aware that I don't ever want to be perceived to tell that story in a place where I'm like promoting myself. Again, like we're on the podcast. I don't imagine that's going to kind of go out, but I'm just careful about that story. It's a really good cautionary tale to that question of like, well, what's the craziest thing? That's my crazy story. It's not a crazy story. It's a
mine's nothing.
horrific story.
Yeah.
But I guess the other thing is, like, for all the pressure that we put on ourselves, going back to what you were talking about, for all the pressures we put on ourselves for photography, there's a couple of stories like that, and I just marvel at, my friend who also just was like obviously distraught, but also like they're just photos, and whilst we put a lot of value in the photos that we take and whatever, it didn't for her mean that it should cost us our relationship, which was really
Yeah. Yeah. So you never got them back?
No. All I got was a bunch of scammers in America call me, and I had the first one. Obviously I was like, oh my gosh, this is solved. Someone's found the bag. We're all happy days. And he was like, yeah, I've got the bag. I'm actually headed down to Washington. I can post it back for you. Just send us $50 for the postage. And I was like, huh.
Yeah.
Like at the time I was like, I'll drive down to get it. No, I'm busy. I'm busy. And then I was like, you motherfucker.
Yeah. So many scammers. Yeah.
Because it was a $2,000 reward. So I guess I didn't think of that at the time that would obviously attract some crazies. But after that one, for weeks, 2 weeks, every day someone would call, I found your wedding photos. You have to send me money. And some of them were really, really smart, and some of them weren't. The ones that were really, really smart and like basically professional con artists. Which
New York is probably full of them. So,
right?
Yeah.
And honestly, like in America too, I was like, wow, it's a real thing. Just so much con and that kind of stuff. So another quick little story. I know this is your podcast, your interview.
It's totally fine. I'm up for these stories.
It's fun to tell these stories. Yeah. When I first moved to America as well, I went to work for a wedding photographer who I never actually met. So first red flag. He had some kind of business where he would book people for their weddings, and then he would outsource them to different photographers. So I went and shot the actual couple, and they were a nice couple, and he was paying me X amount per hour or something, and then he would do all the photo editing and everything. So he got me to send the files after the shoot to him, and then he was in another state or whatever, and he would edit the photos and deliver them. But I did all that. I hired a car because we had to go upstate or somewhere to do the wedding. I hired a car. He said he would reimburse me for that. I sent him the memory cards, and he sent the memory cards back, but he never ever paid me. And I was chasing him for weeks and months and ended up like, oh, this guy's never going to pay just for the hourly rate plus the reimbursement on the rental. I'm like, oh man. But anyway.
This is the sad thing though. This is how you learn these lessons, isn't it? And it sucks, but yeah, it is how you learn. And others will learn from you. So.
I hope so. I hope if there's something that maybe the listeners out there could also get from that, it's just that, a lot of people look up to me in the club, and I just want to also wear the mistakes on my sleeve a little bit and say, we're all human and we all stuff up. And that's as big a stuff up as I think anyone has ever done in photography. So yeah, when things are bad, when things are, I've done the worst thing or whatever, maybe if people think about that one, they're like, oh, it's not as bad as that one.
Yeah, I guess so. There is the thing though, and I sometimes have to remind myself this. What we're doing is we're taking photos, and yes, they are important. Like it is valid, it is important, but
Yeah.
it's photos. So
Yeah.
it's like we're not saving people's lives here.
Yeah.
So it's okay to make a mistake. It's
Yeah.
all right. I've had to really learn that myself and be okay with it when I do make a stupid mistake or something like that and be like, but it's okay. It's photos. Having
Right.
said that, I did have a client last week and she loved the photos that I took of her the previous year. She
Yeah.
said, I'm going to use that one at my funeral. It's like, well,
I mean,
that's
that's a
good
compliment.
compliment, right? Like, if that's going to be a funeral pamphlet thing cover, great.
I have been to funerals where I've taken the photo that
Yeah,
they've used.
yeah,
That's a nice thing.
it is,
Certainly
yeah.
I've definitely worked for family clients and done family shoots of people that I've seen years and years later, and they've said to me, those photos you took of me and my grandma,
Yeah,
like they're
yeah,
up on
yeah,
the wall, and she's gone now, and I look at them every day, and I just
yeah.
love them, and if they hadn't have done that shoot, sure, there's some photos maybe that they have taken with often with our grandparents, particularly. Like the best photo you've got of a grandparent usually is like maybe at a party, maybe at a wedding or whatever. But to be honest, for me, when I was learning photography and I was using film, I went and did a photo shoot when I was learning at my grandparents' place. And
Yeah.
they were around for another 15 years or so after that particular time. But when I think back to what is the best photo I have of my grandparents, it's one of them that I took on film with them leaning out their window of their house. I'm just so glad that I took it. It's grainy as all hell.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's film though. That's okay.
Yeah, it was film. I printed in the dark room, and back then I used to print in the dark room and then use my HP scanner to scan the
God.
print to then
Yeah.
Photoshop it to then
Yeah.
reprint it again. So it's all kinds of mess of like.
Oh, it's
graininess and-
wild. Yeah, yeah. I learned on film as well. Like I went to
Right.
uni, I did a fine art degree, and
Right.
it was digital was just coming in. Like all the good stuff's on film.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, those family photos are definitely the most important. And don't be too hard on yourself. It's not brain surgery. It's okay.
That's a great motto and a great way to end. Where can people find you, Erin?
Well, Instagram normally.
But you only check it twice a day, so don't.
So once or twice a day. That's it. Yeah. Erin Brooks Photographer. My website is erinbrooksphotographer.com. And on Humble Togs Club, I guess. That's the other place to find me. I'm enjoying hanging out there. It's nice. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's a good community.
Yeah, lovely. That's the main reason I want to do this podcast, is so that everyone in the community gets to know everyone, and we've certainly got to know you a bit today, so I hope everyone feels they know you a bit better, and we'll look out for you in the club, and I'll see you out there.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Humble Togs podcast, where we share the journey and not just the highlight reel. Look, the wins are great, guys, but it's the mistakes that actually make you better. And if you've got the right people around you, or if you've got friends around you who are willing to forgive you the biggest of mistakes, then you can count yourself, like me, among one of the wealthiest people on the planet. If you're tired of figuring out photography alone or getting torn apart for trying, come join us inside Humble Togs Club, the community for photographers who aren't going to be dicks to you. If this episode helped you or you found it inspiring, leave a review, and please make sure you're following the podcast so you don't miss what's coming next. Stay humble out there, guys. Keep failing forward and keep chasing awesome.